Grand Rising. Just giving time for some people maybe to hop on. The subject today is going to be about time and sigil mathematics. The number 7, when light passes through a crystal, it separates into 7 rays. This is all about perspective and opening your mind to perspectives that kind of layer on top of each other. So you can see this crystal, the gem, if you outline it, it creates 2 7s. Just like the throat chakra is the Gemini. That's where I have the Gemini symbol on my Jed pillar chart at 77, lined up with 741 hertz. So we can look at the letter L, just this symbol L here. If we flip it upside down, it's a 7, right? So when light passes through the crystal, when a white light passes through a crystal or your eyeball, it separates into 7 rays. And we can add an E to the L and it still spells L, right? If we flip that upside down, we get the number 73. There we are. We get the number 73 when it was once L equaling L. Now 73 minutes equals 1:13 in time. "73 minutes equals 1:13 in time." I wrote all this backwards because the phone is flipped backwards and I want to be able to see the screen because I just don't have good luck. I always end up flipping the screen the wrong way and something happens or it gets turned off. So yeah, 73 minutes equals 1:13 in time. So the 11th letter is K and the 3rd letter is C. L, 11th letter, like 73 mirrored and flipped. 73 mirrored and flipped is L, like the L, 11th letter being the letter K. So the Gothic Norfolk Anglo-Saxon rune for the 3rd letter C and the 11th letter K, like 311 or 11-3. 11-3 mirrors 311. So the 3rd letter being C and the 11th letter being K, the Gothic Norfolk Anglo-Saxon rune for that letter is this symbol here. You just turn that thing 45 degrees and it's L. Just like L, and you flip it upside down. It's 73, it's the 7th, it's number 7. Whenever light passes through a crystal, it separates into 7 rays. Whoa. Katie Farmer, shout out. She's asking for a shout out. Here's your shout out. And yeah, so we're talking about this, the letter L. That's what we're starting with. When you flip it, it's the number 7. If you look at a crystal or a gem, you could mirror 2 7s and connect them, and it creates the gem. Whenever light passes through this crystal, it separates into 7 rays. The G in Freemasonry, it's basically a C with a 7 placed in there. So the G is the 7th letter, and it stands for Gnosis. We're talking about how the letters of the alphabet are actually derived from Gothic, Norfolk, Anglo-Saxon, Germanic runes. So the alphabet, the A and the L, the A through L is 1 through 12, just like 12 notes in music. So the alphabet or the alphabet, the alpha is a masculine, and phi is projection. That's also masculine. So it's an alphabet that's starting with, it's basically shunning the original symbol that is the circle, which it's the 15th letter in the alphabet. And if you look at the vowel system, the vowel to L system, so there's a vowel to L, and that's what we're talking about here, is how L mirrored and flipped is the number 73. 73 minutes equals 1:13 in time, like 11 and 3. The 11th letter is K, the 3rd letter is C. The Gothic, Norfolk, Anglo-Saxon rune for those letters is L, but it's turned 45 degrees to be all sneaky and tricky and shit. Turn it 45 degrees, it's L, right where we started. So just add an E to the L, and it's 73. Take away the E, it's still an L, but it's the square. So they're worshiping Saturn and the square, and it's built into our alphabet, into the language. The note A is the Freemason compass that draws the circle and claims all creation. And the note La, L-A, let me write this down so you get a visual. The note La, that's the Freemason compass. That's the Freemason square that's usually placed like that underneath the A. But it's the tool that draws the circle and claims all creation. So for the note La to equal the note A, the Freemason compass and square equals the note A, the musical note. So that symbol, the note La is the 6th note. So if you've watched my videos in the past, I've talked about how there's a mirror flip in the ether at the 90-degree square mark. L, this is a 90-degree square. Right there, that's 90 degrees. From there to there is 90 degrees. So if you were to put a square on the ground, on this 180-degree flat ground, it would point straight up. So whenever the stars rise from the eastern horizon and pass over this 90-degree mark and start going towards the western horizon, everything mirrors and flips at this 90-degree mark. So it literally mathematically shows this on summer solstice, when the sun transits the sign of Cancer. Cancer sitting at 90 degrees. The sign of Cancer is a 6 and a 9. So summer solstice is 6:21. The longest day of sunlight, and that's whenever the sun's transiting into Cancer, sitting at 90 degrees. 6:21 divided by 90 degrees, the position of Cancer, equals 6.9. The sigil symbol of Cancer, when that's what is happening, the 6 isn't mirroring the 9. If it was mirroring, it'd just be a 9 backwards mirroring itself, but it's mirrored and flipped because that's what's actually happening. If you were to observe the star constellations rising from the eastern horizon And if you were to focus on the stars on the right and on the top, right before it gets to the 90-degree mark, once it passes over, those stars are now on the left and on the bottom. So everything literally mirrors and flips. So for the 6th to mirror the 9, you could say that that 6 is a copycat version of the 9, because whenever the sun is rising, it's rising and giving off vitamin D, sun rays. The solfeggial tone re is the 9th note. And the note D equals note re, like 432 hertz. 4 plus 3 plus 2 equals 9, equals 18, but 1 plus 8 equals 9. Or actually, no, 4 plus 3 plus 2 does equal 9. What am I saying? So, what I'm trying to say is that the note La being the 6th note and the note Re being the 9th note, there's like a play of words happening. So, if you folks have ever played around with the repeating 60-digit Fibonacci pattern, it's a pattern that repeats itself, and it's 60 digits, and it infinitely repeats itself, and it connects at the 101. Let's see if you can see this here. I only kept the zeros and the 5s on here. So at the North Pole, we have a 0. At the South Pole, we have a 0. And the East and West Pole, we have zeros. At the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10, we have 5s. And at each pole, we have a 101, a 909. I think I wrote this backwards. Yeah, I did. 303 and a 707. So for this thing to repeat itself infinitely and have a 60-digit pattern, if you have the original version of this, the numbers that separate the zeros and 5s, if you add them as groups, the group in between the 0 and 5 here, 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 basically just all the groups, you just add them all up, and it comes out to the number 66666, 4 6s and a 0. And then if you divide that by 60 units of time, because it's the infinite repeating Fibonacci pattern, a sequence that's found in all of nature. So the answer equals 1111. So how it repeats, how this thing is repeating at the 101 up top, that's where it recycles itself. Put this thing backwards up. How this thing's repeating itself at the 101. There's 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 minutes equals 101. So the flower of life is a circle, and it has all of creation within this thing. So for that to connect with this repeating 60-digit Fibonacci pattern. So the pillars, the 11 pillars of Thoth to Jed pillars, if you just multiply the flower of life, 61 circles in the flower of life times 11, it equals 671. 671 million miles per hour is the speed of light. So we're talking about time here. That's the only reason why I'm bringing this thing up. I'm going to get back into the other things. So Leo, in capital letters, if you mirror and flip it, just like how the stars rise at the eastern horizon and everything mirrors and flips. So the 9 is, the backside of the 9 is rising, and then by the time it gets here, it's right side up, and the 6 is mirrored and flipping the 9, and by the time it gets down here, the 6 is basically the sun that's setting, and the 9 is getting eaten by the horizon, by the X, or the dagger of the dawn, and that's where the whole, the rune of the dags, which is the X, and that represents the Pope's fish mitre hat, and it's a fish shape because it's going, that feminine sun is going into the underworld, and it's basically the heads being decapitated from the sun, and the age of Pisces is dominating this reality. And the X, this is the rune for, this is Thor's rune is the same symbol. Odin's rune is the same symbol. If you just add an X and then Thor's rune to it, and Odin's rune stands for the letter O, and it means inherit the land. What's shaped like a circle? The earth. Mother's womb. So they're inheriting mother's womb. Once they plant that seed, and they're like, you owe me a baby. You're in debt now, woman. You have my seed. It's hard life. So the fact that L mirrored and flipped equals 73, and Leo mirrored and flipped equals 037, and 61 circles in the flower of life connects with Leo the lion, because Leo the lion's holding the 61 circles of the flower of life. 370 minutes equals 610 in time, when 61 minutes equals 101. So for 61 circles in the flower of life times 11 to equal 671, the speed of light, 671 million miles per hour. 671 minutes equaling 1111 in time. And when we add up all the fucking Fibonacci sequence numbers, the groups in between this shit, and it equals 66660 divided by 60 units of time, because that's a 60-digit repeating pattern, and the answer equals 1111. So now, when we subtract 1111 minus 370, it equals 741, like your throat chakra, 741 hertz. And 1111 minus 730 equals 381. So this is Leo, the lion, and L mirrored and flipped. So what's the big deal about this equaling 741 and 381? I know this is backwards. Because 741 minutes equals 1221 in time, and 381 minutes equals 621 in time. 621 is the summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, and 1221 is the winter solstice, the longest day of nighttime. So we're talking about time here, and the repeating Fibonacci pattern, and the flower of life, and sigil mathematics, and L, and 7 upside down is, or 7 mirrored and flipped is L. So yeah, 7 mirrored and flipped is L. When light passes through a crystal, it separates into 7 rays. We're talking about light, photons. Photons represent the entire spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, traveling at the speed of light. Electromagnetic, like L. Mirrored and flipped is 73. Where am I at? Yeah. L mirrored and flipped is 73. 73 minutes equals 113 in time, when 11 and 3, 113, 11 and 3, the 11th letter K. The 11th letter K. The rune for K is the square. It's L. You just got to turn it 45. Oh, you sneaky little bastards. It's L. The rune, the third letter C. The rune for C is an L. That's also Thor's rune. Add an X to that shit. It's Odin's rune. If you look at the X, it's 2 Thor's runes touching tips. Disgusting. So when you see those X's in the sky with all those electromagnetic electrolyte particles, radioactive particles like barium, cesium, strontium, aluminum, with aluminum salts and shit that ionize into our plasma, protein, liquid crystal systems. It's a travesty. So until we start dissecting the language, if you look on the old school Mitre hats, there's some with the Confederate flag on this thing. So we're talking about 73 minutes equaling 113 in time. Mirror and flip that, that's 311. The order of the Jesuits, IXXI equals 911. 911 minutes equals 311. 9/11, the date plus 181 days equals the date 3/11. The date 7/3 equals 181 days, equaling 185 days on leap year, like the fugitives play back to 1850 and Resolution 181, splitting Palestine into 2 states, creating Israel. Talking about colonization. We're already talking about colonization before we even get to the adoption of the Confederate States on 3/11, a victory for Jesuit slaveholders, and on 9/11 of 1891, that's the Jewish Colonization Association was founded. Colonization Association. The word colonization is in the motherfucker. So for all of this shit to just magically connect with the alphabet, and the Confederate flag is literally 4 Thor's runes. It's 90 degrees square, 90 degrees square, 90 degrees square, 90 degrees square. It's so in your face to where if anybody doesn't get this anymore, I'm just like questioning how indoctrinated they made people to where, I don't know. And yeah, that's the Freemason. The X, the Dag's rune is literally the Freemason envelope. The mail, the letter, the letters. The third letter, C, the 11th letter, K. Hair hanging there. The letter K literally has the freaking rune on there. Right there. See, that is connected to the line. Symbol within symbol with this mirror flipping knowledge using the magic of nature. They're mirroring nature, but doing it behind your backs. So the 24th letter is X. If you mirror and flip that, it's 42. The 42nd prime is 181. Oh, that's a bit of a stretch. Well, let's use some mirror mathematics. Whenever quartz crystal absorbs white plasma light, it separates into 7 rays. And now those 7 rays are within this liquid crystal system, and things reflect within when you're still and reflecting within, and not constantly projecting and judging and thinking that you know everything. So when you're reflecting, 7 plus 7, that's 7 rays mirrored. So 7 plus 7 is 14. We're talking about time and crystals and quartz crystal mathematics. Whenever quartz crystal vibrates, or whenever there's 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds on a clock. So 72 times your 7 rays mirrored, 14, it equals 1008. Now 1008 divided by 24 hours equals 42 days. 42 mirrors 24, and we're talking about 24 hours divided into 1008 hours. We're talking about time, because it equals 42 days. 42 days mirroring 24 hours, and we're using the equation of 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds multiplied by 7 rays mirrored, because 7 rays divided, or white light divided into a crystal, separates into 7 rays. So the G in Freemasonry equaling the letter 7 and standing for gnosis, and this whole language starting with the A and the L, the compass and the square, the language, La, A. The compass draws the circle and claims all of creation. If you even say the word revolution, it's like, oh, you guys are just gonna organize together and take down the ruler? What's a ruler? A straight line. It's L. So revolution just means a circle, but whenever it's defined like that in the dictionary, it's something you should be concerned with, especially whenever if you just draw a circle around the letter A, which is just the compass, the Freemason compass, if you draw a circle around that, it's anarchy. Male war gods like Ares, starting the circle 0 degrees and on the whole entire zodiac wheel. It's got 2 circles, and he's in your ovaries. O-V, Aries. His symbol is your ovaries. And for a male war god to be claiming that much circle, the 0 degrees, that's a circle. The wheel, that's the circle. He's starting that shit. It's in your ovaries. You're producing little male war gods because that's what this narrative, that's the whole narrative is based around war, and genocide is just a normal thing, and ethnic cleansing is just a normal thing. That's just the way that it is. So yeah, for L to equal 73, mirrored and flipped, connect with, let's start with that. Yeah, for L to be mirrored and flipped and be 7 and 7 rays, one light passes through a crystal, it separates into 7 rays. And for to add an E, mirrored and flipped, it's 73 and 73 minutes equals 113 in time. The 11th letter and the 3rd letter C equal L. The 3rd letter C and the 11th letter K equal L. On my chart, the date 3/11 lines up with 44 hertz. 44 hertz. On my calendar cipher system, whenever I was counting back from 1221, the date lining up with 1221 hertz on my digit pillar cipher chart. And this was before, whenever that lined up, I didn't find out the meaning behind that until like a year and a half later. So 44, that's the hexahedron lining up at the sacrum. The hexahedron is the cube, so 44 hertz is lining up with the cube. And 311, when the 11th letter and the 3rd letter C equal L, the cube. Because you just finish that, add another L to that, it's a fucking cube. So they're worshiping the square and shunning the circle. They're putting debt on the circle. The word O, O-W-E, you owe me $5. You know? The word nine is in feminine. The word line is in masculine. So, for the 3rd letter and the 11th letter to equal that, and 311, 311 in time equals 911 minutes. And yeah, 911 minutes equals 311 in time. IXXI equals 911. This is the order of the Jesuits symbol. So for the adoption of the Confederate States Constitution being on 311, 1861, and the Colonization Association, the Jewish Colonization Association being created on 9/11 of 1891 by Maurice de Hirsch from Bavaria. His father was a Bavarian banker for the Bavarian king who made him baron. And yeah, just like the Rothschilds were made baron by Queen Victoria, and that baronship passed down to Lionel Walter Rothschild, who received the Balfour Declaration written up by a biochemist. And the first Freemason was the first person who created the vaccine. When they release all this bullshit in 2020 on 3/11, Colonization Code 101. 3/11, the date equals 182 days after 9/11, like the Missouri Compromise of 1820, 182, 1820. Both victories for Jesuit slaveholders whenever the Illuminati were founded in Bavaria, just like the Bavarian king. I'm sure the Bavarian barons and the Bavarian king and all those guys were all rubbing shoulders together. So for them to be created on 501 in Bavaria, and he was a former Jesuit on 501, when 501 in time equals 301 minutes and 181 minutes equals 301 in time. The date 7/3, L, mirrored and flipped, equals 181 days remain. It equals 590 hertz on my calendar cipher system. This Gregorian calendar was created in the 1500s during medieval times, whenever they're creating the Encomienda, and the Jesuits were founded in 1540. The Encomienda was in 1503. The Gregorian calendar was created by Pope Gregory XIII. He was the ruler of the Papal States and the head of the Roman Catholic Church. And he created the Gregorian calendar. this colonialist Masonic system. So like the Indian Removal Acts, the Fugitive Slave Acts, ACTS can also be AX. And those letters all mean, when you go back into Norfolk runes and Germanic runes and all the different runes, there's runes that where all the letters basically represent X, and we're dealing with an incomplete language is what's happening. So whenever the story of the sun rising, it's 9 hertz, we're receiving Ray, vitamin D. The note 9 equals, or the note Ray, the solfeggial tone Ray equals the 9th note, it equals note D. Whenever the sun rises halfway, it's shaped like a note D, or it's shaped like a D. So we're receiving vitamin D, sun rays. If you can imagine the sun rising and the 9 hertz is on its backside, and by the time it is above you, it's right side up, and this 90-degree mark in the ether, that's where the 6 is mirrored and flipped and creating the 69. So the 6th note is La, the 9th note is Re. So this copycat version in the reality, using this 90-degree square with this Masonic knowledge, creating the language and all these genocidal acts using Norfolk Germanic runes and symbols, mathematics, mirror flipping mathematics, mimicking the sun. When did Horace Mann, the Massachusetts legislator, advocate for all the free public schools? In 1830. If you were to observe the sun from winter solstice to summer solstice, the longest day of night to the longest day of sunlight, it equals 183 days. Like 1830, like your fugitives, like your Indian Removal Act, 1830, and that being on 528, like 528 hertz, your solar plexus chakra, all these plagiarizations of light. So Abraham Lincoln having his mass record hanging on 1226, that equaling 360 days, it also equals 8640 hours, like the diameter of the sun being 864,000 miles in diameter. So the historical Lincoln Highway that runs from San Francisco all the way to the East Coast, the historical Lincoln Highway, I think it's I-80 now, but the highest point of the historical Lincoln Highway in between Cheyenne and Laramie, 8640 feet, just like his mass record hanging on 1226 being 8640 hours, plagiarizing the light. So the amount of times that this thing just clusterfucks. So the L mirrored and flipped, equaling 73. 73 minutes equals 11:13, or 1:13 in time. Mirror flip that, that's 3:11. 9:11 minutes equals 3:11 in time, and 5:11 in time equals 3:11 minutes. 5:11, the Lemuria, Romo slays his twin brother Remo, 181, 44 BC. Like the date 3:11 lining up with 44 hertz on your chart? Exactly. So 5:11, 44 BC, Romo slays his twin brother Remo, 181. Like 9/11, the date plus 181 days equaling the date 3:11? Yeah. Like 5:11 in time equaling 3:11 minutes, and 9:11 minutes equaling 3:11 in time? Yeah. Exactly like that. So see how all this shit just keeps fucking connecting? Like the Pope opening, the first Jesuit Pope opening the last portal door on 1/5 from the mocking of the Last Supper on 7/26. The Last Supper measures 181 inches. From 7/26, mocking the Last Supper, the opening ceremony of the Olympics to the opening of the last portal door on 1/5 equals 5 months and 11 days, like the Murray on 5/11. 181. When 5:11 in time equals 3:11 minutes, and 9:11 minutes equals 3:11 in time. The order of the Jesuits, IXXI equals 9:11. Who do these people worship? L. L mirrored and flipped is 73. 73 minutes equals 1:13 in time. Mirror and flip that, 3:11. Third letter, C, the 11th letter K. The rune for that is an L. Well, but it's turned 45 degrees, so you can't notice. But if you're smart enough, you can turn it 45 degrees. And this thing doesn't just connect one way. It intertwines, it mirrors and flips. It goes all over the place and just connects. I'm gonna read some comments. What's my Indian war cry? I'll marinate on that. I'm 47 years old. I turned 47 on 11/18 back in 2024. It's still 2024. I'm still thinking that it's already 2025. Got two more days, or a day and a half. You can totally subscribe to me. Yes, I'm 47 years old, and my Indian war cry. Let's see if I can bust it out. I couldn't do it. My throat's too dry. I'm dehydrated. I need some water here. I was trying to do my horse impression. I can speak horse. Oh, I'm dying. So, to understand this language that we've been born into by default, nobody's ever questioned it or tried to decipher this thing. And there's a lot of people out there that have created their own ciphers and stater square ciphers, and there's all kinds of things that you can create to basically help you read through or read in between the lines of this language here. But we're talking about time. So let's look at time. If you can imagine a clock, your 1 o'clock or your 12 o'clock, your 1 o'clock. Your 1 o'clock lines up with 5 minutes. So there's 30 degrees. If you were to grab a pendulum and pull it up to the 30-degree mark and let it go, it would swing perfectly, making 1, 2, 3. So it'd create perfect seconds. 30 degrees for one perfect pendulum second. 1, right? If you were to put a compass over a clock, the 30-degree mark would line up at the 1 o'clock, just like 30 degrees per pendulum second. So that's lining up with the 5-minute mark too. So 3 equals 5 equals 1. There's 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds on a clock, right? So let's look into time. Delve with me as we explore time. We can use the calendar as a measuring system. And if we look at 30 days, like 30 degrees lining up with the 1 o'clock and the 5-minute mark. So there's 30 degrees that separate each zodiac sign. All the ancient sites are built 30 degrees from the equator. Right? So 30 degrees lining up with the 1 o'clock and the 5-minute mark. So essentially 3 equals 5. And we can prove this by using the calendar cipher. There's 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds on a clock, so 72 should line up with this shit too. So 30 days equals 720 hours, equaling 43,200 minutes, like 432 hertz, like 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds. It also equals 8.22% of the year. Like how my calendar cipher system equals 234 days mirroring 432 hertz. But that's the 432 hertz pillar on my calendar cipher, because 43,200 minutes equaling 8.22% of the year. That literally means that 822 is equal to 432, equaling to 72 pendulum swings, equaling to 30 degrees equaling 1 pendulum second, equaling 5 minutes. So that proves all those numbers correspond and all have to do with time. So now 50 equals 3, right? So 50 days equals 72,000 minutes, equaling 4,320,000 seconds, like 432, equaling 13.70% of the year, like 137 year fine structure constant, when 822 minutes equals 13.7 hours. 137 times 6 equals 822. So yeah, we're talking about time here. So 5 equals 3 equals 1, and it's equal to 432 hertz, equal to 72 pendulum swings. And you can use the calendar system to measure these things, and created a system to create a calendar of resonance and find all these dates that align with 432 hertz and that honor 9 hertz, rather than all the dates that honor the 440 hertz within the system. But every instrument can either be tuned to 440 hertz or 432 hertz. I don't know if there's any way around that. I'm researching and trying to delve into every aspect of time. But let's take looking at time a little bit further, just to give you folks some perspective. At number 137, lining up with this whole equation, and that's the fine structure constant. So there's 97 leap year every 400 years, and 97 minutes equals 137 in time. Would you look at that? So a better way to understand this, or understand this, or overstand this, whatever you want to say. 400 years, so 4 o'clock, that equals 3 hours and 60 minutes, like 360, like a circle. So 137 in time plus 223 in time equals 4 o'clock, when 137 degrees plus 223 degrees equals 360 degrees. See how those correspond? We're just using 2 different units of measure, and we're getting similar results. So 360 is equal to 4 o'clock, because 3 hours and 60 minutes equals 4 o'clock. So rather than just having these blinders on and just seeing the facade of information, peel back and look in. There's other dimensions of knowledge and thought out there. And I don't mean to sound like a dick, but I've always been a dick growing up, because people have always treated me like I'm an idiot, and I'm over it. So 97 leap years every 400 years. And 97 minutes equals 137 in time. So 47 degrees plus 90 degrees squared equals 137 degrees. So the date 6/21, summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, lines up with 470 hertz in my calendar cipher system. Remember the whole equation, 6/21 divided by 90 degrees equals 6.9, and summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, that's when the sun's transiting the sign of Cancer, sitting at 90 degrees, and the sign of Cancer is a 6.9. So for 47 plus 90, 47 degrees plus 90 degrees to equal 137 degrees, it's pretty crazy. Because whenever you mirror 6/21, the calendar, 6/21 mirrors 126. The date 126 equals 137 days after 9/11. So just the fact that all that shit connects, I'm just thinking out loud right now at this point, but trying to decipher time in this video, but also show you the meanings of these symbols. L equaling L, and whenever you mirror and flip them, you get a 7. you get a 73, and I'm not going to go over that again because I think I've gone over it twice, and you can just rewatch this. I'll keep it under an hour. I'm at 45 minutes. I'm just going to see if there's anything else that wants to come through, because that's basically, I just want to talk about time in this video and how it's being plagiarized and fucked with this calendar system, using these Gothic Norfolk Anglo-Saxon runes and building the alphabet system with this. These are monograms, and yeah, they're using monograms and sigils to build languages and mirroring what the reality does. And nobody knows the story about the stars mirroring and flipping, and the sun transiting Cancer on summer solstice, the longest day of sunlight, and Cancer sitting at 90 degrees square, and 621, the summer solstice, the longest day of night, or the longest day of sunlight, divided by the position of Cancer when it's transiting. That's where it's transiting on that same date. 90 degrees divided into 621 equaling 6.9. That's the sigil symbol of Cancer. So for 690 minus 69 to equal 621, it's like, how come nobody knows about this shit? And the language is built off of this mathematic system, this mirror flipping shit. So for 69 to be the symbol sigil of Cancer, and that's when the sun's transiting on 621, 690 minus 69 equaling 621. Summer solstice equals 172 days, 173 on leap year, when 172 plus 173 days equals 345. You're like your Pythagorean right triangle, your Pythagorean 345 right triangle corresponding with your 90 degree right triangle. It's like, oh, that's a little bit of a stretch. Well, 345 plus 345 equals 690. And 690 minus 69 equals 621, equaling 172 to 173 days, when 172 plus 173 equals 345. And 345 plus 345 equals 690. Round and round we go with this stupid fucking thing. So, for the repeating 60-digit Fibonacci pattern to repeat at the 101, and the north, south, east, and west poles all have zeros, and the 1, 2, 3, or the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 11, 10, 11 all have fives. If you add the numbers in between those numbers, you get the number 666660. And we're talking about a repeating infinite pattern that repeats itself infinitely, fitting on a 60-digit clock. So 66660 divided by 60 units of time equaling 11111. And then we divide, or see, we're just going to subtract. Leo mirrored and flipped equals 037. L mirrored and flipped equals 73. It's not mirroring it, it's mirrored and flipped. Leo's not mirroring 037, it's mirrored and flipped. Okay? So we're using mirror flipping mathematics. Mirror flip the 111. It's still 111. So 1111 minus 370 equals 741, and 1111 minus 730 equals 381. 741 minutes equals 1221 in time, your winter solstice, the longest day of nighttime. And 1111 minus 730 equaling 381, your longest day of sunlight. 381 minutes equals 621. Summer solstice, your longest day of sunlight. We're talking about time and the 60-digit repeating Fibonacci pattern fitting on a clock. That's what we use to measure time with. And the Fibonacci pattern is a sequence that's found in all of nature. Some heavy shit. And I just had to do this video just to get this thing out, because I haven't done a video on any of this yet. And yeah, so Yeah, I'll keep this video short and sweet. Yeah, we just need to start thinking about time a little bit more deeply, because the concept of time, the way that we use time to just go to work and create this capitalistic system, that's where the misconception of time is being plagiarized. We all have our own time within. Our heart is our inner ticker, and on my digital pillar, 660 hertz lines up with 639 hertz. 660 minutes equals 11 o'clock. 11, like the twins. We have our twin pillars right here, and to strike the clock tower, that's our inner oxidative phosphorylation, our inner light, our inner electromagnetic charge lighting up our DNA. Google, is my DNA electromagnetic? It's going to say yes. Our DNA is literally like an antenna, and we are receivers. Our heart is the brain, the mind is the receiver, and we can tune into whatever channel we'd like whenever we've cleared out all the shit. But clearing out all the shit is hard work. And I'm here in Sedona. It's a beautiful day. I've been in the Jeep since November 4th of 2023, working on all of this, and I finally started doing lives again 2 days ago, and I'm going to keep them going on for now. I really had to organize all this and put it together before I could start teaching it, because I had not integrated it enough. So, and the story hadn't developed. I didn't know what any of this stuff was for, but now that I'm starting to see the big picture, I'm going to take it slow on giving you folks information and try not to fry your crown chakra, and I'm not going to try and force feed all this knowledge to you at once. Whenever I was building this and trying to teach this as I was building it, I was getting way too caught up in trying to force the knowledge, and I didn't even understand it yet. So, but we have been colonized with this language, the calendar system, and I'm trying to create solutions. That's all. And just bring light to the situation so we can brainstorm together and come up with some solutions. And we all need to start uniting and supporting each other, because all the L eats, EATS, they're eating us. They're harvesting us, metaphorically. Been human trafficking since the Encomienda, the Indian Removal Act, the Fugitive Slave Act, Resolution 181. Herding humans around like cattle. That's human trafficking. And who knows what the shit that's happening behind closed doors. But yeah, they're all united, and they pretend not to be. And we're all disconnected, and we need to come together, because the spiritual frequency war, it's embedded into the mathematic system we've been indoctrinated with. It's embedded into the language that we speak and describe our own stories and our own truths, and think how we describe ourselves with this incomplete bullshit knowledge. And I just want to find the truth, find the answers to help anybody start their journey and not have to make the same mistakes that I made. So that's why I'm documenting this shit. And if you want to see the full document, the full documentation, dig into my Instagram, and I posted pretty much the whole entire build of the story and left all the mistakes. And the further that you dig, this was all a channeling, intuitive process, and it took making thousands of mistakes and going back and fixing those mistakes until I finally got it right. And now that this build is finally built and organized and mistake free, taking forever to get there and sucking, now we have a nice roadmap and cipher system to read these runes and this language, and from a mathematical perspective and from many different other perspectives. So yeah, I'm about to hit the hour marker here, so you folks have a beautiful day, and if I go on live today or tomorrow, then you'll see me. Have a good day.